So there was an article in the Federalist about the French riots, which are still going on, and Emmanuel Macron, I never know how to say Macron has been backing down and backing down. He promised he was never going to be beaten up by the rioters, but he was. And so now he's backing down about the gas tax and all this stuff, his pro-business stuff. But there was an article in the Federalist by Auguste Merat, and he was saying that what this really is about is the fact that France has lost its soul. And because France has lost its soul, it's losing its body, its people. He's talking about losing their religion. Its people, communities, business, and infrastructure. And what we're seeing is a collapse in Europe of all their standards, all the things that made them what they are, Christendom and all this. And Britain is fighting to try and get its independence back from this absolute juggernaut that is the EU, with its leftist kind of bland, anti-religious, regulatory state. And they are doing, just like they're doing everything here, the swamp is doing everything here to get its power back. Same thing is happening in England. Michael Knowles, what a lovely sweater.
Oh, this whole thing? Is this? This is the Old Crank official Merry Christmas sweater at the Daily Wire store.
It really did. I saw that and I thought, well, that's true.
Yeah.
I am. And
Nailed it. Yeah, absolutely.
But then I realized they were actually being mean.
They were trying to. I was confused. They called me a dapper lib-triggering troll.
That's true.
Which I'll take it. Yeah, it's relatively pretty good. I've never heard of a troll described as dapper, but I'll take it.
Well, I would have liked to have been a dapper old crank. I wouldn't have said no to what on earth? Like, it's funny. Those guys were in Clinton's pocket. Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
It was a Clinton publication. I know people who wrote for them or tried to write for them. And if you said anything about Bill, you were shut down fast, and so they're just a dishonest publication. Why are they attacking us?
Well, they're a dishonest publication, and it was a very long profile, but I got the impression she had never watched the shows. The only one they referenced was one episode of our backstage show, and so I think that they didn't quite watch it. It was obviously going to be a hit piece coming from Vanity Fair, but that's fine. I mean, Donald Trump made it to the presidency on hit pieces, so come at me, bro.
It really is true. I wrote a piece once about Rush Limbaugh in the LA Times, and it was called the Rush Limbaugh Challenge. And what it said was, all the people attacking Rush Limbaugh have never listened to Rush Limbaugh.
That's
I know them.
Yep.
They're only quoting these little lines that have come out from the left against
Media
Rush
Matters
Limbaugh.
or
Right, whatever.
Right.
And so I said, I challenge you to listen to him. So the LA Times responded, they ran the piece, and then they responded by running the opposite piece of people attacking me. And it was all left-wingers, like the guy who did All in the Family. What was his name?
Rob Reiner?
No, not Rob
Norman
Reiner.
Lear.
Norman Lear.
Norman
It was
Lear.
like all guys like Norman Lear attacking me, saying, I've listened to Rush Limbaugh, and then using those quotes, those pull quotes from the left. And I thought, damn it, I knew I was right. So let them come.
Let them come. Bring them on. Bring them on. They're now going after Brexit. They're now going after.
So what is going on? It's like she's going to lose this, isn't she?
Yes, she is going to lose this. Yeah. People are so confused over what this is because there isn't even just one Brexit deal. Well, there isn't even. What is the Brexit? The Brexit was a vote, a referendum vote on June 23rd, 2016, over 2 years ago now, for Britain to leave the European Union. The European Union, the supranational, transnational body, which imposes its will on sovereign nations from Brussels, from totally unaccountable bureaucrats, on how many immigrants you have to take in, on what trade deals you have to accept, on
how much salt you put in your potato chips.
How much salt you put in your potato chips, a slew, the European Court of Justice, all of these regulations coming down from Brussels. And so that was the vote. Then there was an agreement text for how this Brexit was going to work that was agreed to in November of this year. So it took them 2 years, but they figured out an agreement. And the agreement is terrible. The agreement is not a Brexit. It is Brexit in name only. It fails to achieve what the people voted for, which is classic European politics.
Right, of course. That's how they do it. That's
the people express their will, and then
that's how they do.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So there was supposed to be a vote today on the agreement that was agreed to by Brussels and by London to leave the EU. Theresa May, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, had to pull it because she didn't have the votes. She didn't have the votes on the left. She didn't have the votes among the Tories either. So now we have a few different options. We can have a no-deal Brexit, so there's no agreement. It just happens, and then the EU is left temporarily without any trading partners, with chaos all around. Then there's the other option, which is a last-minute renegotiation. That's what May thinks she's going to get right now. She's flying all over Europe right now, trying to get people to give her a better Brexit deal. And the final option is another referendum. This is what George Soros wants. Soros has, and this is no conspiracy theory.
Right.
Soros has publicly talked about this. He is campaigning for another Brexit vote next year, because the left is going to count those votes until they get it right.
Man, see, you're just anti-Semitic.
That's
Soros,
it. You're
Soros
right.
is a deeply devout Jew.
An Orthodox practicing Jew. That's right. Yeah. So what is wrong with this deal? This deal that May negotiated with Brussels. She had these red lines. And these red lines are a lot like Barack Obama's red lines in Syria.
Yeah.
They get a little pink, then they get a little clear, and they're
Then they're
transparent.
gone, yeah.
So one was that Britain will leave the single market and the regulations imposed by the European Union. According to this new Brexit deal, okay, that happens, but
Right.
then Britain has to agree to a common rule book, which just coincidentally are all of the European Union's single market regulations.
No kidding. So
Seriously.
it's non-Brexit.
It is not. So that's
So when
non-Brexit.
Theresa May said Brexit means Brexit, what she meant was Brexit.
Brexit or something like that.
Yeah,
Something like
it means-
Brexit. I mean, it says Britain was supposed to leave the customs union and be able to have free trade deals with non-EU members. What's going to happen under this deal is that Britain is going to stay indefinitely in that customs union, and it will only be able to leave by the consent of the EU. Yeah. And guess what?
Yeah.
EU ain't going to give it. It said that Britain was going to have to be out of the Court of Justice, the European Court of Justice. Guess what happens? Well, under this deal, they're going to stay in the ECJ on regulations and trade, and the UK courts are going to have to follow their rulings. But it's still a Brexit.
Wow, really?
Oh, yes.
Really? So this was a total failure.
It's
on
a
her
farce.
part.
It's a total farce.
And she just she lost her majority, right? She
Yeah.
lost her. So she just does she not have the power to do it, or if she followed Brexit, if she went in and got a hard Brexit, what would happen? Would she get the votes then?
Well, look, she voted to remain. She voted against Brexit. She said ever since she took control as prime minister, she's going to advance Brexit. But a lot of Tories, a lot of people in her party, did not want this. And
a lot of people on the left do, you know.
And a lot of people on the left
right.
do.
They think they're too pro-business, basically.
That's right. You know, the right opposes the European Union because of sovereignty,
Right.
because of questions of liberty. The left opposes it because they view it as cronyism, corporate capitalism. They think it's an impediment to nationalizing certain industries. So it's got opposition on both sides.
Yeah.
What will happen if they're predicting that the sky will fall if there's a no-deal Brexit.
Oh, they've been predicting this forever.
Forever and ever. What is really going to happen? There almost certainly will be some limited chaos in the short term. I mean, if it goes, this could affect air travel. This could affect certainly, obviously, trade. Instantly, trade deals are going to disappear. This could. The big worry is the backstop. So what the backstop is, the backstop plan is avoiding a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland.
Sure.
The Republic of Ireland stays in the EU. Northern Ireland leaves as part of the Brexit.
Right.
So they're saying, well, if there's going to be a hard border, it's going to divide up Ireland. It's unworkable, and they're not going to do a hard border, so there's no real Brexit. Nonsense. This is total nonsense. There was a common travel area for 50 years before this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That is a made-up worry.
So much of this trade stuff, they keep saying we'll have no trade with the rest of Europe. I thought, like, why? Because they won't have boats. You know,
that's right. Yeah.
Like, how will we get across the channel without the? You know?
But let's. I mean, it's not going to be an economic catastrophe.
Right.
They'll just negotiate trade deals. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's say that there is in the short run. This is the argument. Let's say that in the short run, stocks take a hit, the pound takes a hit, whatever. The question is sovereignty. The question is who runs your country. Is your country being run by unaccountable bureaucrats out of Brussels who have nothing to do with you or your traditions or your culture?
Who, by the way, profit in a decline, in a decadent world, the elites do well.
That's right.
You know, that's right.
That's exactly right.
It's the guys in the middle of the country, the guys who work for a living, who get screwed.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, what are you going to prioritize? What I look at this as a terrible, scary lesson that Americans should take. When you enter into these supranational, international organizations, you can't leave.
You know, it's funny. There are people, especially on the right, but there are people who look back and say that Lincoln was wrong when he elevated the Union above liberty, and that the Confederacy should have been able to leave. And of course, it's the evil of slavery that only makes that issue confusing, because we all knew that this had to end, and it was an absolute crime against humanity. It had to be stopped, and all this. But if you leave that out for a minute, if you can mentally put that aside, the Confederacy, the states entered into that agreement with the thought, if we don't like it, we can leave. And the fact that it became a civil war actually was a violation of that original agreement. Once you're in, you can't, it's like the mob,
Once you're
pull
in,
you back out. You just when you think you're out, they pull you
Big
back
man!
in.
I know, I'm confusing a few movies here, but that's certainly right. And rather even than some normative judgment about it, this should be this way, it shouldn't be this way, there's just a positive realization. This is the way that these organizations work.
Yep.
Once you are in them, it is virtually impossible to get out of them.
And if you look at the history of Europe, Britain has a history of not getting involved with things that all the rest of Europe has gotten involved with, like the Inquisition, like the Napoleonic conquest, like the Nazis. There's one thing. There's again and again these bad things, like a stain, have spread over Europe. This little island in the North Sea has actually stayed clear of them, and they're actually following in that tradition. They're more connected to us than they are to the rest of Europe.
That's exactly right. And I think there are some people even on the right who have this romantic notion of a unified Europe, the unified West, and I get it. I totally get it. I loved I like the Roman Empire. I like various parts in the Middle Ages. I like various empires that existed. But look at what it is now. Look at what a united Europe looks like now. It's not a united Christendom. It's not a united common culture or anything like that. It is this secular, weak, awful, leftist, decadent, environmentalist, whatever ism you want to attach to it, that is being run by Germany. That's the other side of it.
That's right. They won. I know. They actually won.
They fought one war against they fought another war against the entire world, and then we just gave it to them.
And now, this with letting all the Islamic immigrants in, anti-Semitism is spreading. Germany is getting everything they want. It just took them. I always used to say, if anybody really wanted to get rid of the Jews, you just be nice to them and they'd assimilate. Because you keep killing them, they said, "No, I'm still here." All right. What do you? Our show is ending. Another Kingdom. This is it.
This is it. I was at church. I was at a church in Orange County yesterday, and someone heard me speaking, and she goes, "Michael, that's you, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I love the show." I said, "Thank you." This has happened to me on multiple occasions, I've told you. I said, "Oh, thank you, though. That's very nice. I love doing the show." She goes, "Yeah, you got to tell Drew. It's so good. I'm on episode 8. I'm a little behind."
That is great. And the numbers have been terrific. I mean, people really seem to be loving it.
That's right. Yeah. So this is the last one. And I will say, because I didn't write it, that I can be boastful about it. It's so good. The last episode is so good.
It was powerful stuff.
It's just excellent. So if you're a subscriber, you get to watch it now. And if not, haha.
What are you talking about on your show?
Today, I'm going to apologize for everything I've ever said. I'm really sorry. Just a little preview. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll never say anything again.
I'm just sorry. I don't care that they don't like me.
That's right. Yeah.
I feel bad about that. All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Good to see you.